Yo, yo, yo! Welcome to Loop City. I'm your host, Mike Skills. We are a group of five guys that love hoops, entertainment, and video games. Today we have Coach Matt, Pistol Pete Toll, going to be recapping NBA draft. We're going to talk about the winners and losers, any surprises, big time value guys, potential trades coming up. Is Brooklyn done? But first, we're going to recap the draft from the beginning. And we're going to start with the first five picks of the draft. Orlando started the night off. They got Paolo Banchero. Thunder followed with Chet Holmgren at 2. Houston Rockets got Jabari Smith. Kings got Keegan Murray. And the Pistons got Jaden Ivey at 5. So I'm going to open this up. I'm going to go to Pete because it looks like you have a very quick you have something that you want to say about these top fives. In particular, like which one stood out for you? Which one surprised you? Yeah.
Well, it surprised me, first of all, that Banchero, after all the noise that Jabari Smith was going to be the first pick, the night before, the Vegas odds shifted. Everybody went into a panic about midnight Eastern time because the line shifted drastically. People were making different bets that, Banchero was going to be one. Then all of a sudden, what about 5 p.m. Eastern, you get the Woj tweet that, there's speculation that Banchero could possibly be the first pick now. It works out for Orlando because they get a versatile scorer rather than, I think, with Smith, although he's really good, he's more of a spot-up guy more than a versatile scorer that's a number one option because Banchero can post up, get his moves like kind of down in the post. Whereas if he had gone to Houston, like many speculated, we all thought was going to happen, I think, Senjun is there, and it kind of take up the same amount of room. Now, with Banchero, it's, creative passer, just got to see what he can do defensively, but they're a work in progress in Orlando, and they got the guy that they want. Two, Chet Holmgren is the most intriguing for me because a lot of people are saying Porzingis. I think it's more, if you remember, when Pau Gasol came into the league with Memphis, how skinny he was, and just that fragile frame, just the finesse down low, and then kind of being able to shoot it as well. Defensively, get weak side blocks. Think, obviously, Holmgren's a better shot blocker. I think you're going to see special things with him in OKC, especially with Giddey as a playmaker, then a secondary playmaker in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. You got enough defense there, to help him, as far as other than just rim protection, keep him from having to go out on the perimeter a ton. Jabari Smith, like I said, front court option, can make shots, good shooter. He was pissed off on the broadcast, not going number one overall. Just has to improve his handle. I think that's the biggest thing for me. Sacramento, you had the chance to take Jaden Ivey, fleece somebody for some extra assets. I like Keegan Murray. I think he fits well with Sacramento, but I still would have taken Jaden Ivey, forced another team to trade for him. Then you could have, rerouted some assets, and still gotten Keegan Murray maybe at 6, possibly, and seeing what you had there. Murray's going to play power forward, which they have a spot open with Marvin Bagley getting traded, so I think he fits there. Good fit next to Sabonis. And then Ivy, I think Detroit, to me, was the winner of the draft because you got Duren, and then you've got Ivy, which gets, Ivy gets them the secondary playmaker. Whether you want Ivy, I think he's more of a 2 than a 1 because that gives Cade the ability to go on the ball now. Leave Killian Hayes as a backup. Cade Cunningham as the lead ball handler. He didn't look great off the ball shooting the 3, so now maybe on the ball, I think as he improves, gets better his second year, Cade's going to flourish. Now you got Ivy being able to put pressure on the defense, driving to the hole. You still got Sadiq Bey there. And then Duren is going to potentially split time with Beef Stew at the center spot. So we'll see.
Beef stew.
I agree.
Coach Matt Miller, what do you have? What do you have to follow up on those top five? What stood out to you? How do you like the fits?
I think the fits. Honestly, I think I was surprised. I mean, it just literally from the day we saw the lottery with all we knew what picks were going where, literally till, as Pete said, the night before the draft, we all thought Jabari Smith was one. I think it was pretty cut and dry. Chet was always locked in with Oklahoma City. That was not a shock. He was always going to end up there. But I think it almost makes you wonder, did Orlando somewhat second guess themselves? Because I saw some things read, that some of the workouts that Boncaro had with Houston and stuff were really freaking good. Yeah, I know he didn't work out with Orlando, but word gets around, and and if you talk to some people, they'll say Boncaro has the higher ceiling, and Jabari Smith has the higher floor. So maybe just a little second guessing, but it probably works out because he's kind of gives Orlando what they need, a guy you can give the ball to and he can get buckets. He can score. They don't really have that. I guess maybe they thought they were going to get that last year with Suggs. And as good as and as good as Franz Wagner was, he's not a guy you just give the ball to, score 25 for us. He's not that guy. He's good. He's good. He can score, but he's not. And you get that with Boncaro. Plus, we saw it a little bit at Duke. He's got the good playmaking, off the dribble and stuff, so that'll help him. Fits in nicely with Wendell Carter Jr. Then Chet Holmgren. The only thing, that worries me, obviously, is the frame. But when I saw his dad yesterday, his dad's kind of big. Like, he's tall, but he's big. He's got broad shoulders, so it makes you think, hey, Chet Holmgren could, he'll fill into that body. I do like the Pau Gasol comparison.
That is a good comparison. Did you like the chain? Did you like the chain he had on?
He's got swagger.
He got swag.
Yeah. There was a post yesterday. Someone tweeted that he looked like a combination of Tyler Hero and the movie critic from Ratatouille. Yeah. And I couldn't unsee it when I saw the pic. I couldn't unsee it. It was there. Jabari Smith in Houston, outstanding pick there. We saw the shooting, the length on defense. He can block shots. He's 6'10". He can put it on the deck, 1, 2, 3 dribbles to the rim, but he does have to work on his handle. But like our guy Sean Moore said on Twitter, John Luke is going to get with it and they're going to work on it.
Okay.
And we know Jabari Smith, he's pissed off he didn't go 1, so he's going to be ready to work. He's going to have a little chip on his shoulder. So that, and he, like Pete said, he's going to fit in real nicely with Şengün. And I think this is actually better for Jalen Green as well, because instead of playing with Paolo, a guy who's going to be more ball dominant, create for himself too, it will allow Jalen Green to still be that guy and not have to worry about, their young rookie coming in and trying to do his thing too. So I like that. At 4, Keegan Murray, the thing I think that impresses me with him was the improvement he made from his freshman to sophomore year. The shooting was better, the scoring, what it was like almost 16 points a game he increased his scoring from, which is just phenomenal. So he's going to work. He'll fit in nicely. Not a great athlete, but a good athlete. He'll get his dunks, can shoot the ball. So nice fit there for Sacramento. I understand why they didn't go Ivy. They always seem to go guard. So I guess, they had, outside of Bagley a few years ago, let's just go, at least it wasn't Stauskas.
Yeah, I just feel like they could have taken Ivy and held him hostage for somebody else to make a deal because there was
so not so much taking him for yourself.
Yeah, so you're not. I don't think they would have taken him for themselves, but you could have said, all right, like Atlanta wanted him, or like Indiana. Like if Indiana's at 6, then you could get something from Indiana, turn around, get 6 plus another piece.
Even with Atlanta, maybe you can get John Collins and like a Kevin Herter.
Something.
Yeah, exactly. And then with Detroit, I mean, when we talk winners and losers, Detroit will come up again. But getting
go ahead, talk that.
Yeah, I mean,
talk that winners and losers.
The Rockets and the Pistons were my biggest winners.
And why?
We'll get to losers. They just improved their team tremendously. I think the Pistons. I'm going to give them the slight advantage just because they got 2 big needs, and now. They essentially turned Jeremy Grant into Jalen Duren. And they created some more cap space. So you can go out and get maybe Bridges and Ayton, or one of them, or you just go out and get some nice, really good role players to come in and slide in. Because the one spot they do need to fill is that 4 spot, which maybe that's where maybe you get Miles Bridges. I don't know.
I was thinking Bridges because then you could interchange with Sadiq Bey. Even though Bey is more of a small forward, you can interchange the two because both of them are kind of hybrid forwards.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And Bridges showed this year, he can shoot that catch and shoot 3 at about 36, 37%. So he'll be able to play off of Cade and Jaden. So that'll look nice. Duren, the guy's going to be a phenomenal defensive player. You really saw it at Memphis, 6'10". He's long. He's already big. Like, he's got a man's body already. And I believe, didn't he reclassify? So he should be going into his freshman year of college, right?
I think so.
Exactly. So he really should be you're basically the guy who came out of high school, and he has a lot of potential. He's got to put some nice potential as a passer in the offense too, that you saw a little bit, and of course now, Cade had, once they got Bagley, and Bagley was a much better guy to throw lobs to than Cade. Now you got Duren, who's going to be even better, And
they may bring Bagley back and then focus on more depth as far as the team goes, like as far as using their cap space on that, because they can fill out multiple, roles on the team. That may be the route they go.
Yeah. I'd love to see him bring in Ayton, but I don't want to do it if it has to be a sign and trade. If they can outright sign him, I think, if you can get him, I think you have to. He's 23 years old. He fits exactly what they would need. And as great as we think Duren can be, I don't think he's going to be Ayton.
Right. Yeah. I just worry that, like, a lot of hype is thrown out that Phoenix doesn't want Ayton, but what's going to stop Phoenix from saying, all right, well, we don't necessarily want to let him go. Let's match an offer. And then you kind of have to force, a sign and trade. But I just don't know that it would be Detroit that's going to overpay. Atlanta's rumored. That doesn't make sense.
What would you do if you could get away with so a sign and trade? You give a beef stew and maybe like you do a thing with Diallo and a sign and trade or something like that to get Ayton. Would you do that? Would you have to consider
Phoenix, I want some picks in there.
Yeah, well, you throw in a couple picks.
So you throw in like 2, like a first rounder at least, if not 2, maybe Isaiah Stewart. And something else because you got to match the cap space or the
well, maybe you throw in Olenek then, throw in Kelly Olenek.
Yeah, something.
You don't think Phoenix will want to win now?
Well, that's why I think you throw in a guy like Olenek, and they've got McGee already. So
The only thing with Phoenix though is if you look at the numbers, Biyombo plugged in when Ayton was out, and they just kept rolling. So it's kind of like you plug and play whatever center. So they're like, why are we going to overpay for Ayton? Well, we could just plug and play.
I see.
Kind of thing.
Yeah.
Almost like you can replace his production.
Well, they're not better than him, but the way they play, they're not really utilizing him to his fullest potential.
They're not.
And
but it makes sense. I get
Booker, apparently, then Monty Williams is kind of playing the middle of like, hey guys, let's cool it, let's figure this out and all that. And Ayton wasn't trying to hear it because whatever Booker said to him pissed him off enough to where it was like, he was outraged. And then, Monty Williams is trying to do the right thing. Like, hey, look, I'm not trying to take sides. It's just, let's calm down here. Let's, whatever.
Yeah.
And Ayton just never got over that, whatever it was.
Yeah. I think I heard a leak. And it said that they asked Ayton to go back in the game. And he said something to the line of, why? So I can not pass the ball to myself. Like it was something like very, it was like, look, you guys aren't using. What am I doing out there?
Right, and he's right because they would go through stretches where like he wouldn't touch the ball for 10, 12 possessions, and it's like, what are you guys doing here? Like,
when they were at their best against Dallas, it's when they were giving him.
I was just about to say, you took the words out of my mouth.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And they didn't use him, and then they got blown out.
He was the reason they were going to be favored over Golden State.
Yes.
Right. I want to go back real quick because you talked about your winners and you had Houston as one of them.
Yeah.
When we talked about Jabari, we've already talked about Jabari.
Yeah, there are other. Yeah.
Tari Eason, defensive stopper. You put Tari Eason. You've got Jayshawn Tate as a defender now. You've got the scoring in Jalen Green. You've got scoring in Kevin Porter Jr. You've got scoring in Jabari Smith. Then you got Senjun able to score.
Christopher could score 2 off the bench for them.
Josh Christopher off the bench. Ty Washington is the point guard that they were looking for that could play make. He's coming off the bench. You have some nice pieces in Houston. They may not be play-in worthy this year, but I think they're one more veteran quality piece away from being right there for contention for them.
And that veteran not being Eric Gordon.
No, they'll trade Eric Gordon before the season starts.
Oh, Eric Gordon is gone. His bags are packed. He's just
And speaking of Houston, KPJ, he didn't really demand a trade, but he just wants. It's like he wants to go somewhere where he can get the 20+ minutes, and he knows it's not going to be there in Houston.
Okay.
Oh, with Kevin, not Kevin,
Kenyan Martin.
Kenyan Martin Jr. Excuse me.
Yeah, Kenyan Martin Jr.
Yeah. Which I don't blame him, because at the end of the day, like, he's got to develop too. So you can't develop all these guys.
Yeah, that's the problem. I guess it's a good problem to have.
Yeah. I mean, from the franchise, it's a good problem that we have this, embarrassment of riches. But from the player standpoint, it's like, I want to develop. I want some time, and you gotta pick who can develop and get some other guys that know their role already and bring in. I'm gonna go to you now, Pete. Like Matt talked about his winners, and I want to hear who you thought were the big winners, and then we can talk about losers too, because we know the King's gone king, as we've already talked about. But there's some other losers that are just lurking around that we haven't even scratched the surface on.
All right, so I've got the Spurs rated high because Jeremy Sojin, I guess is how you pronounce it, versatile defender. Athletic front court with Keldon Johnson.
Okay.
You get Malachi Branham to fill the Lonnie Walker role as a versatile pure scorer. Blake Wesley can kind of fill, I think, that Derek White role, secondary ball handler, good upside as a backcourt presence. Obviously, they're trying to revamp the team, retool around some of the younger guys. I still believe DeJounte Murray is going to get moved this offseason.
Really?
Just because if they can get that big of a haul back for multiple picks and, a veteran or two, I have a feeling the Hawks deal may push through. It's just going to come down to what third team's going to be involved to throw San Antonio an extra pick or two throughout, and then obviously that team would take on Collins potentially.
So Collins does not end up in San Antonio.
No, I think originally, I don't know for a fact, but I think originally it was Sacramento as the third team, and Collins would have went to Sacramento, but Sacramento kind of balked on what pick protections and stuff like that as far as picks go.
Were they willing to give up 4?
I don't think 4 was involved from everything that I've read.
Because then if 4 were to be involved, that would mean maybe Murray ends up in San Antonio then.
Maybe, but I felt like if they were going to go, it would have been Ivy would have probably gotten plucked. Because that would have filled the DeJounte Murray role.
Yeah.
For them, because they already have Keldon Johnson, which that would have duplicated. Murray would have duplicated Keldon Johnson.
And is Murray in a contract year? Is he a free agent or is he 1 year?
I think so.
No. And then, so I'm guessing Primo slots into the point guard spot then.
They want Primo to be a point guard, is what they're developing him as. At least the minutes he got last year.
Yeah.
OKC is an obvious one. Holmgren's a home run to me. Major upside. Jang, I feel like can be there because he's another unique talent. We'll see what he can do within that, course of the offense. Jaylen Williams skyrocketed up boards. I think he's versatile enough offensively that he can, do some things. And then Jalen Williams, I feel like on both sides of the ball, more the defensive side, can fill a role because you got Poku who doesn't defend.
Yeah.
So you got him there.
Also, what about Jaylen Williams? They got him too.
Yeah, that's what I said. Jaylen Williams was the – yeah, there's two. So there's Jaylen Williams, the first one, the offensive scorer that went up the draft board.
Yeah.
And Jaylen Williams, the second, who's the second rounder, who is more the defensive guy.
Yeah, from Arkansas, right?
Right. So 4 picks in the draft, you're restocking. Now you can move Lou Dort, potentially, get something back. You have tons of depth on the team. It's a win-win for OKC. I like personally what the Pacers did with Mathurin because I'm high on Mathurin. I feel like if you want to talk somebody that has swagger and just really, really kind of boasts about himself, he's one of those on the court because he's already challenged. I want to see what LeBron James can do in person. That takes a hell of a lot of balls to do.
I like it.
But I like that because you got Tyrese Halliburton, who's quiet. Now you got Mathurin, who's more of, a talker to go in the backcourt with them. Then you get Andrew Nembhard, who I'm high on too. You get him at 31. I thought he should have been a first rounder. That's the young man from Gonzaga, right? The point guard. Mm-hmm. Yeah. He's more of a pure floor general. He's going to be a backup, but he's able to come in, can play in 3-guard lineups.
Yep, and he's got because of the size.
Right, and then you get Kendall Brown in the second round as well. Not going to play a ton, but now you have options because Brogdon will get dealt. Mm-hmm. So then you look and see what you can get for Turner, develop some of the young guys like Isaiah Jackson, guys that, if Jaylen Smith comes back, you can develop him as well. So they have pieces there, but those are the two that stand out for me.
Okay. I already mentioned the Rockets and the Pistons. That's, Pete even went in deeper with the Rockets. I don't know if I should say it's a team who won because they really only had. So I'll go to my losers. And I'm only prefacing this because we don't know what's going to happen. But for right now, the Knicks are the losers. They got nothing. Now, in fairness, what they've done is they do have draft capital going forward, though. And it just
not
depends
good
upon
draft capital.
It's just how are they going to use it?
Well, you got to think about it. So the 3 first rounders that they get all have pick protections on them. So they're all going to get pushed down the line unless something drastic happens and teams just bottom out.
Yeah, that's the only thing I can. That's why they're losers. You just it looks bad.
It's bad because you're banking on
signing Jalen Brunson.
You went from the offseason last year, which was a disaster. Let's just face it. Kemba didn't work.
Yeah.
You got Julius Randle who wants out. You can't trade him at this point. You're relying on RJ Barrett, who I still think is overrated. So I just don't know really what's going to happen moving forward. Jalen Brunson and what else?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I'm not going to go with the Kings as losers because Keegan Murray he's a good player. Yeah, he's a good player.
Right.
So I don't want to go, now who knows how the Kings are going to develop him. You just,
I mean, I feel like we'll have to wait and see I think they have a trade or two to pull off during the offseason as well.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. Oh, man, loser. I have to go with I just don't like his game right now.
Mm-hmm.
The Portland Trailblazers, Shaedon Sharpe.
Oh.
Versatile scorer from what I saw in the, what he played in high school. But he didn't play in college. Hasn't played basically in 2 years. You come to the NBA game, you're a 2-guard / point guard. Are you going to be efficient scoring? Dame's vouching for you, but at the same time, you got to find minutes for Anthony Simons, who's coming back. So how much is Shaedon Sharpe going to play behind those two? I just don't really like it necessarily from what else they could have got, because they could have traded the 7th pick and got multiple picks back. Say you traded the pick, you got both of Charlotte's picks, so you would have 13, 15. You then could have moved 13 and 15 together, got a veteran piece that could help now, because Dame's not going anywhere, at least for this season. Mm-hmm. So Like, what are you guys doing? Mediocrity to where, like, let's make the play in, guys, or let's shoot for the A seed. Like, if I'm Dame, I'm not accepting that. I felt like another one, even though a lot of people had a mock there, Johnny Davis going to the Wizards, for the simple fact that he's not a point guard. So then is Beal going to be the point guard if he comes back? Are they even going to have Beal?
Yeah.
Like, there's so many question marks with Washington. I just don't know, like, how that's going to work out. Like, obviously, Davis is probably going to be the 2 guard, so now Beal's the point guard. He's not a point guard. He is 6'3", Beal is, but he's not a point guard. I just don't like it. And then I would probably say, for me, Cleveland, because they got O'Shea Agbaji when they already have 2 guards. Because now you got to make a decision on Colin Sexton, which I still don't like Sexton and Garland as the backcourt together. You got Karis LeVert. You got Isaac Okoro. Like, Dylan Windler's still in the wing. Like, even though he hasn't played much. Like, so you have Chetty Osman's a small forward. Like, so where's Agbaji going to play? Like, where's he fit in? If you bring back Sexton, like, how's he fit? Like, I felt like they could have traded out of that pick, you know, and got something, you know, a little bit different. One team I didn't touch on for my winners, I forgot New Orleans with Dyson Daniels and then EJ Liddell. I think Liddell finds a spot on the team. Matt, you and I were texting yesterday.
Oh, yeah. We both like him. We just kind of are a little different on how where we think he can get minutes.
So what's your point of view? And then I'll say what.
I kind of look at it. The reason I think he ends up getting minutes, because I think we agree on the skill set and all that and what he can do.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But, you know, you have the injury with Zion and Nance. You know, he's in and out of lineups with injuries and stuff. And I think now that sets EJ Liddell up to get some minutes. I'm not saying 20, 25, but I mean, it sets him up to possibly have a shot at 10 to 15 minutes off the game and maybe spot starts here and there when guys have to rest.
And see, I see a little bit different because I feel like they have Jackson Hayes, who now if they trade a combo of Jackson Hayes and Devontae Graham this offseason to kind of get rid of some of the, you know, the glut on the team that they have, then it's a totally different story. But I think right now with Jackson Hayes, Larry Nance Jr., Zion, you could play B.I. and Trey Murphy, kind of slide them up if you needed to in a pinch. I feel like more like Liddell is going to play in the G League. I think he makes a regular roster spot. It's just going to be, you know, different because, like, a lot of people hyped up Jose Alvarado of like, oh, he's playing a lot. He really didn't play a ton except in spurts when they really needed defensive stops because Devontae Graham was still playing a lot of minutes as the backup. But I do think Dyson Daniels playing off the ball because CJ is going to play the point guard. So then Daniels off the ball cuts defensively. If he can knock down shots, it's a steal easily for New Orleans because don't forget they have Herb Jones. There's a stopper. Like that team is set up to make the playoffs this year for sure if everybody stays healthy. And Jonas Valanciunas didn't even mention him.
Yeah.
Oh, he was great for them last season.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So, like, I mean, it's just all across the board with a healthy Zion. I'd rather. I have them higher than Portland.
Oh, absolutely.
And I know Matt. That's your team right there.
Yeah, I got them. I think they can finish as high as 4 if they stay healthy.
That's the Coach Matt Miller League Pass team to watch.
Yeah. I wanted to say one more. I love what Toronto did, getting Christian Koloko from Arizona, the 7-footer, block shots. Like he's a guy who, like, I remember they were talking about him in the tournament. I don't know if it was the game before they lost or the game they lost. I'm like, man, Mathurin, this guy, I mean, he's going to be 2 of the top 10 picks in the draft.
He's athletic.
Yeah, and he blocks shots, and that's kind of what Toronto needs.
Yeah, let Chris Boucher go.
Yeah.
And give him rotation minutes, in my opinion.
Yes, absolutely. It's not going to cost him anything.
Yeah, let somebody overpay for Boucher and let him go.
All right, so now
real quick. Speaking of Boucher, I saw somewhere that they gave a list of the top big man free agents. They had Boucher at number 2 as the second best big man free agent.
Ooh, who was the top?
I forgot what it was. It was on Twitter. It was a bigger account that put it up. I was like, what the hell?
Yeah, I don't know about that.
I like Boucher, but no.
See, I'm not a fan. I think he should have developed more than he has.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
All right. So now, with that being said, the winners and losers, this is the fun one. Who are the biggest surprises? Who's somebody you thought like so and so got him at that pick? He fell that, or he was who's the steal? Who's the guy that you would be like he could be the next Giannis or the next Jokic? As far as a guy that no one thought of, and now he's an all-star.
Well, first I'm gonna go the one that fell. Like I didn't see him much, but I mean I didn't think Jaden Hardy was gonna fall all the way to 36. That was pretty surprising, actually.
I thought he was. I had him as a second rounder, but top
interesting. Yeah, I thought. I mean, he was projected to go between 18 and 25 in most mocks.
There was a couple
but he
guys
just shot so bad. His efficiency was so bad in the G League.
Yeah, there was a couple guys that kind of rose that I didn't think, like David Roddy, went first round. I didn't have a first round grade on him. Christian Braun, didn't have a first round grade on him. And who was the other one? Patrick Baldwin had him second round as well.
Yeah.
And they got him at the bottom end of the first round, so it's not bad.
And it's Golden State, so we trust it.
Yeah.
I'll tell you the guy though that could be the one that you could see as an all-star. And Pete mentioned his name earlier, Malachi Brandon. I think that guy could be really freaking good.
And we trust the Spurs.
Really good.
Right.
We trust the Spurs. They draft well.
I was hoping he was going to fall a couple more spots so the Rockets could get him.
Oh, this is a tough question.
And as I'm saying this, there was a guy named Nikola Jokic that got drafted, no relation. So that's what made me ask this question.
That guy's good too.
Is he the next Jokic?
I can't say for sure who's going to be the next Giannis or Jokic,
right?
But I can say who's going to surprise a lot of people and get playing time more than people would think is Walker Kessler for Minnesota. I just feel like the way that they're trending, they're wanting to play Karl-Anthony. Yeah, I think it's a mistake, but they're wanting to play Towns more at the 4 in situations.
And he's the big kid from Auburn, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I just feel like being able to, play next to Towns, because he kind of, he has a 7'5" wingspan, blocks a ton of shots, but he's able to move, and that's what's going to help them. He's a good drop defender in the pick and roll, good rebounder who can box out, so it frees up Towns from all the things that we don't like about Karl-Anthony Towns. He kind of fixes if it's going to translate over, and Towns can focus on offense. Not that he's going to be a star. I just think he's going to play a little bit more than people are expecting right out the gate. Another one that I think could potentially be a sleeper, and I talked about him during the pre-show, is Jake Laravia, because he takes the role of Kyle Anderson. It's basically Kyle Anderson all over again. And they get him on a rookie scale deal. I could see him plugging and playing in that Memphis offense as a cutter, uses the ball fakes inside, really good passer, is able to get guys involved from the mid-range and pass to guys inside for easy buckets. You're taking the pressure off of Morant to have to be, such a distributor. One thing I will say real quick, side note on Morant, he's showing all these videos of his bounce during the offseason. Where's the videos of the jump shot improvement?
Yeah.
I'm sure he's working on I want to see it in the game. I'm sure he's working on it.
No, but I'd like to see the workout too. I see it both ways. I like Like, look, we know
I like
the bounce is what gets the likes on Instagram.
We know
he got bounced.
You know how big of a Ben Simmons guy is, and we've seen the shooting workouts, and we haven't seen it in the games yet.
Yeah,
right.
But these are workouts where he's just
At
showing what we already know is his strength.
Yeah, he will shoot. At least he will shoot in the games, though.
Oh, I can't wait till we get to the Nets later on. So now let's talk about. This kind of goes in line because Matt hit me yesterday. Was like, you got to talk about big time value, late first, second round guys, and I'm like, let's go. I mean, Matt, this is your baby right here. I know you're in love on big time value.
Yeah,
so,
I think we pretty much. I mean, we didn't call it the value, but we pretty much talked about most of them.
Were you the one that told me get the Wendy's 555? The big
that was
bag?
not me. That was not me.
No, that wasn't the big time value. Oh no, it was the Baconator. You told me get the Baconator. I'm tripping.
No, I mean, when you look at where guys were picked, I think Baldwin for Golden State. I know he ended up, at one time he was a projected top 10 guy. Then he fell out as a guy who's going to be picked in the second round. But we know how Golden State does their scouting, and if he turns out, good shooter, he's not super athletic, but he's 6'10", he's long, he's got a good, he's got good form on his shot. If he can come in, guard a little bit, make shots, I think that's going to be really good value for them. And the other guy I talked about earlier that I really like, E.J. Liddell at 41. I think that's a hell of a spot for him to go. Because he was a guy, some people had him late first round, early second round. He went 41. So New Orleans, I mean, they did a good job, just like last year when they got Herbert Jones and Trey Murphy. They got great value at their pick. They know what they're doing right now these last couple of years.
Who you got, Pete?
It'll be interesting. Well, Andrew Nembhard is the one I mentioned earlier, just the being able to play make, things like that. Second round, I would say who gets a chance that could show some flashes, Caleb Houston for Orlando. They don't really have a backup small forward. In spurts last year, you had Terrence Ross, who I think is going to be on the move. So as far as the value there for what he's going to be able to do, Caleb Houston, it's just hard to project second rounders because a lot of these guys are going to end up taking two-way contracts when you get to the 40 range on down. And that's kind of been the agreement since last year of like, hey, we'll draft you, but it's going to be for a two-way and, things like that. I don't know. I'll have to go back to the first round. Who I think is going to have more value, Dalen Terry for Chicago.
Oh,
yes.
Defensive versatility, the opposite of what Kobe White gives you. So with Lonzo kind of being questionable, that gives the Sunmu more minutes. Caruso, obviously, we know what he does defensively. Now you add another versatile playmaker with defensive ability, 6'7", 6'6", 6'7". Dalen Terry, not going to be major stat stuffer, but I think it's going to be able to intangibly do a lot of things, for Chicago to help them in the rotation.
Excellent. Yeah, we're a big Dosunmu fan over there. So when you said anything to help that guy, I'm like, yes, I want more dogs. I want more defense-minded players that
and he's an improving shooter, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's still a little bit of work in progress, but
it's not like Kobe White can shoot, though.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. So it's not, they're not desperately they need shooting on that team, I think, and that'll help open up the offense. But at the same time, it's kind of not where they're going, I think, at right now. But we'll see.
Okay, so now we gotta touch on trades just a little bit. Next week we will be doing free agency breakdown after all the action takes place because the next week is going to be crazy in the NBA with all the rumbling. What time does it
start, Pete? Like Thursday,
which is June 30th.
At midnight, right?
No, it's 6 p.m. Eastern.
Oh, so it's like prime time.
Yeah, they moved it up.
6:01. Go ahead and get ready at 6:01 for the first tweet from Woj to be Zach LaVine agrees to a 5-year contract back to Chicago.
Man, listen.
Well, actually, he
Listen.
may wait because after Chicago had the whole thing last year, he might wait till about 6:03.
Yeah, he gonna
But,
wait till
Yeah.
6:03.
But I think we'll see that. We'll see Bradley Beal, one of the first ones. But I'm waiting to see what the shocker is going to be of like so-and-so agrees to a massive deal, and we're like falling on the floor like who, what? Wait,
Jalen
what?
Brunson, a 4-year, $120 million contract, right?
To the Knicks.
No, I think that's kind of expected. I want to see something like, just massively some out of nowhere. Like somebody gets like an overpay and it's like, what is this team doing? Or a trade, like Kevin Durant's been traded, whatever.
Traded to the Jazz.
Oh,
Woo! Woo! Well, we've already had one trade, and Matt, I think you were breaking it down during the pre-show about Kemba Walker being traded to Detroit and being bought out.
Yeah, well,
but break down that deal for us because I was
it's-
trying to follow that.
So essentially, we got to start with Detroit. What they did the other day with they traded Jeremy Grant to Portland, and Portland in return gives them, it was the 2025 Milwaukee first round pick, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so we have that. Then Charlotte has the 13th pick. They trade that to the Knicks. What did the Knicks? What did the Knicks send them back? It's very confusing.
Yeah, because I was looking at it and I was like,
and I believe that Memphis. I think that Milwaukee pick, did that end up with New York or Charlotte?
I think that ended up with Charlotte.
It's crazy, yeah.
Yeah, it is.
And then
going here, there.
Jalen Duren ends up in Detroit. Kemba Walker ends up in Detroit. New York didn't get a single player out of it. Just
so
they got future, draft capital, if you want to call it that at best.
But did it free up New York cap? Because that was my question. Okay.
I think
so it gave them one more deal.
Yeah, and it actually helped Detroit free up cap too.
Yeah,
Interesting.
New York needs one more deal to be able to get. The expectation is Fournier will get moved or Cam Reddish, but they got to open up about, I think it's 10 to 16 million to be able to afford the $110 million contract over 4 years for Jalen Brunson.
Wow.
Imagine paying Jalen Brunson $27 million a year.
I mean, I
remember. And Pete, the dots are now being connected, and tell the folks why.
Okay, so, all right, so Rick Brunson was a, backup point guard in the league for multiple years. Was on that finals
and the
team.
Knicks.
Yeah, finals team for the Knicks in '99. He was an assistant coach throughout the league. Had some issues as far as some sexual harassment stuff, so was gone for a little while. Jalen Brunson's father, obviously, he is now the assistant coach with Tom Thibodeau in New York. You can't get more, and then on top of that, Worldwide West is family friends since Jalen Brunson was born. So.
Oh, he's going to the Knicks, it looks like.
I mean, what more do you want to connect the dots?
Yeah. Oh,
so
there's Mike Skills.
Yeah. I guess I dropped out. Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. So yeah, that's what we got there.
But yeah, so Detroit gets the cap space route with that trade with Jeremy Grant. So
interesting tidbit on that too. Troy Weaver did say if Ivy went 4, he was going to take Duren at 5. Detroit was going to take Duren at 5 if Ivy
that would
was
have been
gone.
a huge reach.
Those were the guys they wanted, and they got them.
I mean, that's good for them.
And you know what someone said? That Troy Weaver's playing chess. By doing the wheelings and dealings that he did, it makes it hard for Charlotte now because they didn't have to take on Gordon Hayward to make any trade happen. Right. So now, if they sign Miles Bridges to a big time offer sheet, Charlotte may not be able to match it. With the
They'll still be able to match it because I feel like there's
it'll just make it really hard. It'll make it really hard and we know Mike's cheap.
Right. I feel like Gordon Hayward will be on the move to somewhere like Indiana, back to Utah. The Jazz. Yeah, something like that. If they have to get out of it.
All right. And then what do you guys think is going to happen with Kyrie and KD with the Nets?
You take it, Matt.
I mean, first off, it's Kyrie, so you just never know what's going on.
Yeah.
I mean, he could shock us all, opt in, and everything. You know, everybody lives happily ever after.
He's
However,
going to opt
not
in,
to cut
but
you
he's
off.
going to want to get traded.
Yeah, not to interrupt Matt, but Kyrie could ask to be the first basketball player to go to Mars for all we know. He could literally ask anything.
Here's how crazy. He probably does opt in, but it would not shock me for him to opt out and take the mid-level and go play with LeBron James again. I wouldn't be shocked if he did it. It's Kyrie. You just don't know.
Right.
And he could be part-time.
I don't know that it's going to be the Lakers. It's too many people expecting the Lakers, and I just feel like it's going to be something different.
The Clippers.
I don't know.
The Clippers.
I don't know who it's going to be. The Clippers, though, but then you got Kawhi and Paul George to compete with. Is he really going to want to be?
I mean,
he's not going to Philly because he's not going to play next to James Harden.
No. He's not going to. James Harden, he wanted out so he could get away from Kyrie.
Yes.
Would you shock everybody, opt out and go to New York, and it's not Jalen Brunson?
Well, that might be another reason that New York is trying to clear some space. That might be. I think that's in the back of their minds.
Yeah, I mean,
because that's where they wanted to go originally, right?
So now they'll have two weirdos in him and what's his name, like Julius Randle.
Yeah, I feel like if you're going to look at it, I don't like Kyrie, so I don't really care what he does, honestly.
I like Kyrie,
but
he's just a weirdo.
I just don't like him. I think he's overrated.
You know what? He's a space cadet. I don't mean that in a bad way. He's just a weird guy.
Yeah.
4 years left on KD's deal, and it's Kevin Durant, a generational talent. You're getting a massive package back. You have multiple teams that are going to want him. The Clippers, the Hawks. A lot of teams could throw multiple pieces and the Clippers can't throw picks, but multiple pieces back. The Hawks could throw picks and some intriguing pieces back. Mm-hmm. Mike, you mentioned, tell everybody who you mentioned.
Oh, I was like, and since we're thinking of like what could happen and what's the least probable, what if OKC was just like, you know what? We got all these draft picks. Let's send them to Brooklyn, bring KD back, do some nice reunion.
Unfinished business, right?
Yeah, like LeBron did in Cleveland. The only difference is he don't have Kyrie and Kevin Love to go to. It'd be completely different. But you're right.
He would have, you put KD on that team, they're a playoff team.
Absolutely.
Instantly.
Any team.
They would be competing for a top 5 spot, I think, if everybody stays healthy, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's I think, and you said it, Matt and I were talking last night, and he brought up something I hadn't even thought of. Poor Ben Simmons, if he's left Brooklyn with no Kyrie, no KD.
Yeah, but you know what? By then, with these trades that could be made, they could get guys that fit him perfectly.
That's what I was thinking. It actually works out because the owner.
The Nets aren't as bad a shape as you think because they do have Ben Simmons.
Everybody is crapping all over Joe Tsai, which is the owner for Brooklyn. But if you look at it realistically and you look at it unemotionally, like you have no ties to the Brooklyn, you have no ties to, Durant and Kyrie. Okay. So Kyrie didn't play. He's only played in 30% of the games for Brooklyn since he's been there. I don't know exactly how many it's been. But
did you send that mic to me?
Yeah, I sent you guys that Twitter. It was I think it was 40% or something. It was not even half.
It's not a lot. So you're not going to overpay for somebody that is not going to play games. Then you're looking at, all right, well, if he's out, what pieces do we have to kind of fill in? So if we can sign and trade him, get pieces back, then we could flesh out the roster better.
He's played in about 49% of the games.
49?
Yeah.
Okay, so
he's played in 116, missed 118.
Yeah.
Okay. Durant if he's disgruntled and he wants out because he's frustrated because I guess he feels like the direction of the team. At that point, he has to be more frustrated at Kyrie than anything.
Mm-hmm.
But he's not going to out his friend publicly. So if you're Joe Tsai, you're like, all right, we have Kevin Durant. We're probably going to lose Kyrie, which means Durant's going to want to go. Let's go ahead and get the biggest package we can get back. And people are comparing it to the Boston trade with Brooklyn, and I'm like, it's different because they'll make out getting pieces back that they can rebuild with.
Well, like, you know what? You know what? Trading Harden for Ben Simmons, if they get the right piece, if they end up having to trade Durant, you trade you trade Kyrie, it's going to almost look like a masterstroke getting Ben Simmons last year because you have that guy to build around. It's not like their whole franchise.
He can stay playing point guard.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you can
still have Joe Harris as a shooter.
Yeah.
You have Cam Thomas.
Yep. You have Seth Curry.
You've got Seth Curry there as another shooter. So you've got, wing shooting. You've got Ben Simmons. You've got players down low. Day'Ron Sharpe is a young project. If they bring back Claxton, you've got him as well. Down low, you just got to find the pieces to fill in. So if you're like Atlanta, for example, multiple picks, Kevin Huerter on the wing, you've got DeAndre Hunter you could throw. You've got Okongwu as an emerging center. Then you throw, 2 or 3 first-round draft picks. That's a win for Atlanta because you get Durant. They'll sell tickets nonstop with Durant and Trae Young.
Those jerseys are already sold out.
You're Brooklyn, you get picks, and then you turn around and you get, multiple
good players
plug and play. And there you go. Even if they took on John Collins coming back, like that's still
he can play with Simmons.
Yeah.
So
and then you got a highlight guy that will be all over Instagram for his dunks and getting fans.
Brooklyn probably still makes the playoffs next year.
Correct. And they're still right in that 4 or 5 range. Yeah, potentially because they're going to be.
They may finish with a higher seed next year than they did this past year.
Right.
I mean,
with Ben Simmons as the best player, who would have thought?
The next week is just going to be crazy. I can't wait. Pretty much the next 5 to 7 days, because the rumors the Hawks have to make a decision on Danilo Gallinari's contract because it'll be guaranteed if they waive him by the 29th, I believe, then they only owe him $5 million. So that's probably a given.
They're waiving him.
Yeah, they're waiving him.
So that's a given. So then what do you do with John Collins in the meantime? You could potentially trade him before
get Durant.
Well, you can get Durant or you can move him elsewhere and then get the pieces to then go get Durant.
Yes.
Because what if Brooklyn doesn't want John Collins, whatever. Because, we all know tampering happens. All this stuff's getting discussed behind the scenes.
I just know this. When Ben Simmons leads them to the conference finals next year, I'm going to have the biggest smile on my face. I will be gloating because everybody knows I'm the Ben Simmons guy.
Right.
I'm going to be like, I told you.
And I'll be over there crying tears that we have James Harden, who's past his prime. And
wants a 5-year, $200 bazillion.
Joel Embiid thing could have absolutely worked.
I feel like if they overpay James Harden, it's going to be the massive mistake. And I don't know. I'm not gonna bounce from being a Sixers fan because I can't do that. I've been a Sixers fan my whole life, but I'm going to be.
Well, then you know what you do? Joel Embiid traded to the Lakers for Anthony Davis.
Wow.
Oh no, because then I have to hate Embiid now.
Yeah.
Because I don't like the Lakers, so I just can't. I can't root for the Lakers. I don't like LeBron James much either. And then if you put Kyrie with them, or even if Westbrook stays, like
Embiid to the Bulls for Zach LaVine and Vucevic.
Bro, I would drive them to the airport myself.
Which would be crazy.
That ain't enough, man.
Vucevic came in the league with the Sixers.
Yeah,
He went to Orlando in the Dwight Howard trade when the Sixers got Andrew Bynum in return, who never played a single game.
Oh, that's right. He was in that massive deal.
The next time you really saw him in the arena, he was sitting in the stands drinking a beer.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was tough.
Well, Well, I guess.
Oh, before we go, we all want to give our condolences to the family of Caleb Swanigan. I don't know how big his family was because I know he had some homelessness when he was growing up. So, but it goes to show you, because everybody's seen the before and after pics. I showed Mike, and it just goes. And they said it was natural causes, so it just goes to show you never know what's going on in someone's life.
I want to say was it his dad that died of heart failure?
That's what it might be.
I think so.
But it just seems like the stress, how big he got, it makes sense to,
Yeah.
But it just goes to show you don't know what someone's going through.
Absolutely.
Well, and then what people don't realize, and then we all love trades and all that stuff. What people don't realize is we love to see trades. We love to see the drama of free agency, all that stuff. But these people have families, and they have lots of things, young kids, and all that stuff. All that stuff plays a part on, mentally stressing. Then you're say you're not a star, and you come in, you have an injury or two, you could be out of the league pretty quick, and there's no.
Isn't that kind of what happened with Caleb Swanigan? He
couldn't stay healthy.
Yeah.
And you don't have a backup plan because basketball is all you've played, and everybody can't go into broadcasting. Not everybody can be JJ Redick or
Kendrick Perkins.
Perkins, there was an Instagram photo of Frank Kaminsky, Zach Randolph, a couple other people, and I'm I just don't see the person. Maybe Zach Randolph because he's outspoken, but I don't see Frank Kaminsky coming out being a personality that's gonna So you got to find another avenue.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I just feel it's sad in some cases because there needs to be support for the WNBA from the NBA side, and there also needs to be support for ex-players. Once they leave the league, trying to help a program to try to help them transition to everyday life.
To help out guys like Delonte West as well.
Right. I think that,
I know Mark Cuban is trying to help.
Yeah, Mark Cuban did a whole bunch for him, and even got him a scouting job with Dallas. I just think his bipolar situation plays a little bit more factor in it than anything. But we'll see.
Well, to what you were saying though, Boban, I guess he did an interview about since this last trade. He said it was really sad leaving Dallas because they treated him like where he was from. He felt like he was back home where he's from.
I would not be shocked to see Houston trade him somewhere, and then he's eligible to go back to Dallas.
Yeah.
And Dallas re-signs him. I would not be shocked to see that.
So if he gets traded, let's say they trade him to Detroit. Detroit buys him out, waives him, and he can just go to Dallas then.
Correct. Right now,
if Houston buys him out, he
can.
can.
Traded first.
Yeah. How long does he have to wait? A year, or is it like a 90-day?
It's a year if he goes directly from Houston.
Okay.
But if he gets traded to any team, no matter what, he has no waiting period. He can sign directly back to Dallas, which I think happens anyway, just because.
Yeah.
Either he goes
to Dallas, or he goes to Philly to be with his buddy Toby.
Yes.
Toby and Bobby back together again.
Bobby and Toby show.
Maybe we'll get more goldfish commercials.
Well, that's a good segue for this last bit of news for Reunited. As we reported a few weeks ago, Kenny Atkinson, the assistant coach for Golden State, has rescinded the job that he was going to accept with the Charlotte Hornets to become the lead assistant. And Charlotte has reunited with Steve Clifford, the only coach that's taken them to the playoffs. Well, since when they were the Bobcats. But either way, still, that's going to be very interesting. And Matt, I know you're excited about it because now he gets an upgraded roster. Michael Jordan spending some little money now.
I like Steve. I like Steve Clifford. I don't have a problem. I think he's a fine NBA coach. I mean, is he going to be the guy to bring this team to the conference finals or even a second round? Probably not.
But the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing he will do, he's going to have them playing much better defense.
Right.
He will have them playing defense because his team's guard, and that's what this team did not do last year. Remember during that play-in when we talked our first preview?
I remember.
Chair.
There's no guard chair.
No. And they will be a much improved defensive team this year. I will say that. And they've got some guys on the roster that can, that are capable of being good defenders. So I expect an improvement there. I expect an improvement. I'm not saying they're going to go to the top. I mean, look, we never thought Dallas would end up as good defensively as they were. It's possible.
Yeah.
I just worry because he had such health concerns in Orlando and stepped away. He did do the consulting role with Steve Nash in Brooklyn last year, so maybe. But, Brooklyn didn't look great defensively either. So I don't know how much consulting he really had a hand in. He made the playoffs twice with Orlando, 3 times with Charlotte originally. He did coach Kemba Walker, who wasn't a good defender. So there's hope for LaMelo at the point guard spot. But I feel like there's going to be some changes with the personnel in Charlotte because now you got Mark Williams at center. You have decision to make on Bridges. You got a decision to make on Hayward. PJ Washington's still there. There's a lot of pieces on their bench that just aren't very good that they're going to have to upgrade. And he's defensive minded. So I don't know. None of his offenses, except for 1 year with Charlotte, were in the top 10. The rest were, not very good. Hardly at all. So
hopefully LaMelo can change that.
Yeah, I mean, I personally, for me, thought it was going to be Mike D'Antoni because they can run and gun and get up the floor. But I think that with Mick Kupchak in the front office, he likes the defensive pace. Like, we're not going to run and gun, which I think is a mistake. And then we all know Michael Jordan's cheap. So, say what you will. Maybe D'Antoni wanted more money.
And deservedly so.
But at the same time, also D'Antoni probably wanted control over the assistants, which Charlotte's known not to pay the assistants very much. They lost Jay Triano to Sacramento. So we'll see what happens. Because the rest of their assistants, like Chad Isk is a longtime assistant throughout the NBA, but like Marlon Garnett's a player development guy. So they're not, Jay Hernandez is a development guy. So their assistants aren't top tier, big name guys. So I wonder what's going to happen with Steve Clifford to get the personnel that he's going to want in there, both on the court and on the sideline.
Pete, does what is it? Mark Williams is his name, the big kid from Duke. It's Mark Williams, yeah. Does he slot in as the big man to start the season?
He has to because Plumlee's a backup.
Okay.
And then you got Kai Jones. I think Kai Jones is more of a 4 than a 5.
Yeah.
Then Nick Richards is there. That's not really going to do much for you.
Yeah.
And then your power forwards last year were split between Bridges and Washington, but Washington's more like the starter. Bridges, I feel like it's going to either Bridges doesn't come back and then Hayward's, got ample playing time, but you got Kelly Oubre there too. So they got a log jam right now. Oubre, Hayward, and Bridges.
That might be why Bridges goes to Detroit.
Yeah. Somebody's going to throw a bunch of money. But he also likes LaMelo because he said Airbnb. So, we'll see what happens. I think it's more likely Bridges comes back to Charlotte on a max deal and then Hayward's dealt, personally. Okay. I think that's, to me, what happens. I don't see the success of Bridges going because I think Clifford focuses more on defense. So there's going to be more pressure. And, when, with players, when they start getting harped on about stuff, kind of, their morale goes in the tank. So I think
not
it's going to be.
Everybody's built for that. Not everybody can play. That's why Thibodeau has problems with players sometimes. Some can't handle it.
Now, Clifford's a nice guy and a very good coach, but I just don't know with this team. I think he's taking on more than he can chew with this.
Maybe Book Night turns out to be a really good player. He slides in at that shooting guard position, and
maybe they move Rozier. I don't know.
Yeah.
All right.
They've got to find a way, I think, this year to get some minutes for Book Night.
Yeah, I agree.
See what he can do at least.
Yeah, McDaniels is a good piece I like off the bench.
Yes. He's the older brother, right, of
I think so.
The
Yeah.
one in Minnesota is younger.
Yeah, I think he is.
Younger,
Right.
yeah.
Which he's good.
Jalen McDaniels, right?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, he's the younger one. I like his game too. They both have a similar game.
Yeah. I think with because you can play in both forward spots and versatile enough. Yeah. So.
All right. Well, this has been a good episode. Another one of Loop City. Again, I am your host, Mike Skills. This has been Coach Matt Miller, Pistol Pete Toe. Shout out to Gonzo, Star, and of course, Rad Rim. We are again 5 guys that love hoops, entertainment, and video games. Until next time, we are out. Peace.